Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Horsemanship Journey podcast. My name is Shane Jacob, your host, and I thank you for taking your time to be here with me today. Today, our subject is rejection. Got my dark and gloomy bad guy black shirt on today for such a dark and dreary subject. Rejection is something that we all get to experience in this lifetime. That can be a pretty serious deal. I mean, whether we know or not. So whether we realize the impact that it's having on us or not, a lot of times we can see some people, the effect on other people, but not so easily do we see the effect on ourselves. And a lot of times we're just not conscious of the effect that different kinds of rejections are having on us. And I'm going to talk to you today about 3 tips to remedy rejection. So first of all, to be able to understand rejection, we need to understand a little bit about our self-beliefs. Okay, so self-beliefs are an ongoing effort over a lifetime. Okay, a lot of times we think that, it's something that we just accomplish at one point in our lives and then we have it done. Or we think, right now in this moment, I feel like, my self-esteem's a little bit low and I'm going to work on it and put it back where it goes and then it'll be taken care of for now. Okay. In The Secret to Living, I list 6 truths about you. And one of those truths about you, about us, about human beings is that beliefs are not static. Okay. Which means that they must continually be cultivated. Okay. So whether we're conscious or not, okay, we are constantly making meaning about ourselves throughout our lives, whether we really realize it or not. It's happening inside of our brain. And that's why, I love this quote by Brooke Castillo. It just strikes me with so much. Let me see if I can find it here. It has so much meaning to me. And let me just tell you what that is. And she says, if I can find it, she says, here we go. She says, Brooke Castillo said that, owner of the Life Coach School, said, most of our thoughts are unsupervised, haphazard, and unconscious and pre-programmed. Okay. Most of the thoughts in our brain, 60,000 estimated per day. Okay. Every 24 hours, these little phrases and sentences are shooting through our minds constantly with all the chatter. 60,000 thoughts a day, approximately, whatever, a lot. Okay. Most of our thoughts are unsupervised, haphazard, unconscious, and pre-programmed. Okay. Which means, so she goes on in the quote, so our lives become an unconscious response to unexamined thoughts. Our lives become an unconscious response to unexamined thoughts, which means like that if that most of us are just going around we act as if we are at the effect of our circumstances until we become aware of our thinking, okay, what our thinking is, what's going on inside of here. We become aware that we know, then we become aware that we can change it. And then we can be intentional about what's going on with our thoughts. And then we can kind of start to direct our life and have more control and be more empowered and start getting, it's how we get to be more of how we want to be. So if you understand this, here's the way I describe it. And I'm going to wrap everything into one bundle. Here's what I mean. Self-esteem, self-confidence, our total self-image, self-efficacy, all of these things, with faith in ourselves, the way that we see our worthiness, the way that we value ourselves as a human being, the relationship, how much love I have with myself, all of the beliefs that I hold to be true about me. Okay. So all of those beliefs, okay, are something that we are constantly making meaning about. So it kind of goes like this. Here's the way I describe it. We're going along and we're feeling pretty good. And then one of 2 things happens, okay? Because there's basically 2 ways that we make meaning about the beliefs that we hold about ourselves. And that is the things that we do and think, okay? So in my example, I'm feeling pretty good. And then I did something. But it turns out I kind of wished I wouldn't have done it. You know what I'm saying? And so uh, I do something that is either against what I believe, that I do something I'm ashamed of, I make a mistake, I have a big failure. Whatever I do is what I do. And now I don't feel so good about myself. And if I don't consciously do something about this, my subconscious mind is going to make meaning out of this. And then it's going to come out in all kinds of ways of how I behave and how I feel and therefore how I act. Okay, it's going to influence my results. The other thing that happens is we're going through life and things happen to us, right? People say things to us, about us, to us. Things happen to us. For example, in worst case scenarios of like abuse, okay? A lot of times with abuse, when abuse happens, the victim says, unconsciously or not, like, why did this happen to me? Why was I a victim of, what did I do to cause this to happen? And then they're making meaning about themselves based on what happened to them. Okay, so as we go every day, all day long, we're going throughout our lives unconsciously, we're doing things are happening to us. And, let's just say somebody gives me a big pat on the back and says, great job, Shane. I'm feeling pretty good now. And then, whoops, man, I lost my temper and did something, who knows what, right? And so now I'm looking at myself and I think I suck. And then, that's how it goes. So what I'm saying is that our self beliefs are based on what the things that we do and think about ourselves and what other people say to us and do to us, and those are the things that affect our beliefs, whether we're aware of it or not. So becoming aware of it is a big key in this. Rejection, so here's where rejection comes in now. Okay, rejection is one of the biggest thing that influences our beliefs about ourselves. Okay, because here's the deal, like, there's so many things. It's like getting ghosted, get swiped left on, unfriended, unfollowed, denied credit, denied admission, not hired, fired. Uh, you didn't get picked for the team. You didn't get picked for the squad. You're getting laughed at. And of course, being rejected in, romantic relationships. The thing about rejection is compared to failure, right? Usually failure is kind of tied to a task specific kind of a thing, right? It's like I didn't achieve a certain thing. And so it's not quite as personal. It's a little bit less about me, right? But whereas rejection kind of has a really personal element to it, right? It just feels like it's all about me. And so it's one of the hardest things that we can emotionally handle. Okay. And it's going on, it is affecting us whether we know it or not. It's affecting our teenagers if we're parents, and it's affecting us as parents if we have kids, and how we relate to them, and how and the relationship that we have with our children. I will tell you this. I kind of thought I was rejection proof in certain, in my relationships. And then one day my wife decided she was leaving. And let me just tell you something. I wasn't. Okay. I experienced things in my life later on in my life. I was, however old I wasn't what I'd consider to be young anymore. I'm not sure if I was 50, but I was probably around that age, and about that or something. And anyway, uh, it took a toll on me, and it affected me so much. And I felt like I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. I didn't have control of it. I actually experienced what I would call panic attacks for the first time in my life. 50 plus years old, and I'm experiencing a panic attack for the first time in my life. And let me tell you what happened to me. Okay. I felt so alone in the world. I felt like I was the last one on the planet. I felt like I was afraid because it was getting dark. I felt like the world, I could like feel it closing down around me. I was getting like claustrophobic. It was the middle of the summer in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was getting cold. I was sweating in the over 110 plus degree temperature, and I was having trouble breathing, and this intermittently went on for a couple weeks worth of a time period. Okay, and I had fear wrapped up in this because I knew, in my mind, I knew, hey, nothing's wrong with you, Shane. It's just your thoughts. You're going to be okay. And but I couldn't break free and I couldn't get control of what was happening to me. And it was a tough time. Let me just tell you, okay? I wouldn't say, I want to go ahead and say it's the toughest time I've had in my life, but it was a damn tough time, okay? And so, uh, um, so yeah, that's a piece of my story. And so I'm just telling you that rejection is real, okay? And I know from my own experiences. Um, so here's the thing, rejection is so serious that our brains literally experience rejection as physical pain. Okay, and there's proof. Uh, this is according to an article published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Physical pain and intense feelings of social rejection, they hurt in the same way. They hurt in the same way. Okay, let me say that again. Physical pain and intense feelings of social rejection hurt in the same way. So the study demonstrates that the same regions of the brain that become active in responding to painful sensory experiences are activated during intense experiences of social rejection. Okay, so basically, research with MRI scans says that compared these MRI scans compared brain activity in people that experienced rejection with brain activity of people who experienced physical pain, and they found that the same regions of the brain lit up, okay? And those regions are linked to physical pain, the same regions that responded to social rejection, okay? There's other research, this is super interesting. Other research found that the pain from rejection is so similar to what we feel from physical pain that taking acetaminophen, that's how you say it, whatever Tylenol is, Tylenol or in Tylenol, taking Tylenol, okay, after experiencing rejection actually reduces how much pain people reported to feel. And the brain scans showed that the neural pain signaling was lessened when people took Tylenol from an emotional social rejection. Okay, that's how serious our brain thinks rejection is. Okay, another thing about rejection is hey, it's gonna happen. Okay, it's inevitable. It is part of the human condition. It's just part of living. Okay, it's part of being a human being. You know, as long as there's media, as long as there's colleges, as long as there's employers, as long as there's credit card companies, sports teams, and of course, as long as there's other people, you know, there's going to be rejection. We're going to feel rejected. Now, we can become better at handling rejection. We can help other people go through rejection, and we can help them become prepared for rejection to be able to become more rejection resilient. Okay. There's in doing research for this podcast, I read about a person, a lady who recommended, and she went out and she said she intentionally was on a dating site and she was dating and she went out and intentionally set herself up to be rejected like once a day for 30 days. Okay. And I'm like, yes, you know, go for it. She's uh, you know, experiencing what it felt like and just being able to go through that to prepare for, you know, the real deal. I'm not necessarily suggesting that. I'm just thought it was an interesting way to go about it. It reminds me of again, I go back to Brooke Castillo, one of my mentors, says that in her goal setting course, she talks about failing 25 times a quarter. Okay. She's like, fail forward, go and fail. And, you know, and that's just going to be part of how you're going to win. Kind of a similar like philosophy to prepare yourself. But what I want to give you today, okay, is the three tips, okay, to remedy rejection. And they work. Okay. I've used them. This is the real deal. And here's the deal. It's not a big complicated process, but these things will help prepare you and they'll help move you away from things that are going to happen in this lifetime. Okay. The first thing is when you're rejected for any reason, if you feel like it's because let me just say this before I go into the three. The feelings and the meaning that we make out of rejection sometimes can lead to so many negative things. They can affect our health in a negative way. A lot of times we can have suicidal thoughts. And so if that's, I don't know how much more negative thinking that you can get than that, that which it can lead to suicide, right? Uh, it can lead to hurt our physical health. We can go into depression for long periods of time. It can affect our work. It can affect our relationships with our families. It can affect our just overall well-being. Okay. And so here's the deal with that. I recommend that if you're not out of this and feeling good in a couple weeks, that you get medical help. And if you're around somebody that you can't help and you feel like they're depressed and they're in isolation and it's been more than a week or two, get professional medical help because this is for real. Okay. So here we go. 3 tips. One is number one, the first thing that I want you to know is just to rally support. Okay. And what that means is anything. It doesn't have to be specific. What it is rally for support from people that you trust. Okay. People that you trust to share your story. Okay. People that you feel like that are on your side. Okay. They don't have to be connected to the rejection, just people that you trust. This is an idea that's similar to Brene Brown's steps of shame resilience, okay, which is basically just to reach out to someone that you trust. It can be virtual, it can be on the phone, it can be just in their companies, even better. When you have people around you that you trust, that care about you, this is going to be one of the most important things that's going to help you get through, okay? And then you tell your story, okay? If you have it's easy to have feelings of shame wrapped up in rejection because we think that it means something about our value, our worth. We think something's wrong with us. Why didn't they choose me? On and on and on. And so we can make a lot of negative meaning that has a lot of negative impact. And so if we have someone that cares about us, that we trust with us as much as possible, I mean, don't be afraid to reach out. Okay. And then if you have the courage to tell your story to someone that you trust, that is going to be the connection there is going to put that shame and that rejection behind you. Okay. And in that, okay, this is a part of rallying support. Inside of that and during that time and with the people that you love yourself. Okay. So as you share your story to yourself and to the people that you trust, love yourself. Here's what I mean. Think and speak kindly about yourself. Okay. Only use thoughts and words about yourself that you would use with someone that you really care about. Okay. If you have kids, you wouldn't be telling them that they suck. You wouldn't be telling them that they can't ever this and that they're always this and they are not worth this. And if they, you wouldn't just measure your words by this. If they are not thoughts or words that you would want to use with someone that you really love, don't think or say them about yourself. Okay, that's part of it. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Okay, love yourself, big deal. Step 2, okay, that's one. One is to rally support, and inside of that is to love yourself as you rally support from people that you trust. Number 2, okay, 2 is to feel it. Okay, feel it. Have it be okay, as painful as it is. It's just to feel the life, feel the anguish, feel the pain, and to the extent you can, um, avoid the urge to buffer, to buffer that out of that feeling. A lot of times we can go to all the things that we can do to try to change our state, to change the way that we feel. We can overdrink, overeat, the list is on and on and on and on of things that make us feel better for a minute that end up making us feel terrible in the long run. If you're willing to feel the discomfort of the pain of rejection, and you're just to feel it and allow it to be there. That's kind of called processing, right? Emotion. Rather than, if you can avoid the urge to go out and try to feel better immediately by using things that you're going to not wish that that are not going to help you in the long run, do that. Okay. Feel it is the second one. And then a lot of times when you do that, you know what I notice? I notice that I realize it's not as quite as bad as I think it is. Okay. That I'm afraid of, when I actually just allow it and feel it and let it be there. Moving on to 3. Okay. Step 3. This is the next one, is called um, make intentional meaning of what's going on. Okay. You get to choose what this rejection means about you. You get to choose the beliefs, what you hold to be true about this thing, what it means about you. So here's my question. What if you could make it mean whatever you wanted? What if the rejection that you're experiencing in this thing could mean whatever you wanted it to? Okay. Because guess what? It can. Okay. It needs to be believable and it needs to make you feel better, but it can mean anything you want it to. Okay. So, um, use forward thinking. Think about the future. Decide how much you want to even think about this thing moving forward. Okay. Um, uh, Most of the time, okay, these things, and I'll speak for myself. Okay. After this really couple of tough weeks of my last big rejection, when my uh, marriage ended, um, I was so grateful. I was so grateful, and that it was such a blessing to be through with that. And I'm sure that I would assume that it was a good thing for her too, but I'm just speaking for me because I can. And that is that it turned out to surely be a blessing. It was such a painful thing to go through for a minute, for a while, for a couple weeks, but it turned out to be an incredible blessing in my life. Okay. And so as I look back and see what happened, I get to choose what all that means, and you can choose what it means to be true also. And I would suggest to be intentional with what you want to make it mean. Okay. Because it can mean whatever you want. And it surely does not have to mean anything about your value, about your ability, about anything. It doesn't have to mean anything negative about you. And here is a fact. Most of the time it's them and not us. Okay. And this is based on research, and I'm going to give it to you right now. You can use this to help make meaning. Okay. This is part of making intentional meaning. This will help you. It helps me. This research says that about 90% of the time, okay, what happened in this rejection was because of them. And this is from Terry Orbush, PhD, a research professor at the University of Michigan's Institute of Social Research, um, and says that according to her research, that according to their research, 90% of the time, what happened isn't even about you. Okay. It had to do with some other factor that's not even a, a personal thing about you. Okay. It's just that it feels so personal and we don't know why. And and so we make it mean something about us. Okay. And it's not 90% of the time. You didn't get the job, they unfriended you, the relationship ended, it was more about them 90% of the time. And it may help to know that when you're making meaning. Um, this also, knowing that most of the time it's not about you. One of the things that I thought of in this also gives us that insight, allows us to help other people who, if you're ever in a position to where you have to be the rejector, okay? Like if you're the one hiring and you have to deny people, or if you have to if you feel like you need to end a relationship, if it's not about them, I think letting them know what it's about and giving them that, letting them know that it's not about them, that the rejection is not about them personally, can help them get through it a lot easier. So that gives us a lot of power to be able to help people in knowing that. Okay, so yeah, most of the time it's them, not you. Okay, according to research. Um, rejection is real. Okay, and I, there's a lot of suicide and a lot of depression, a lot of missed opportunity, and a lot of sadness, and a lot of life that is diminished, ended, um, that's wrapped up in rejection. And so, if you use these 3 tips, it will help you, it will prepare you to handle rejection with as much grace and love for yourself as you can. And also, the more that you know about this and the more that you become aware of yourself, then the more that you know it's not, most of the time, it's not about you. And if you are the rejector or you're helping someone through it, you can help them know that fact too. And a lot of times, if you know what it is because you're the rejector, you can let people know who are being rejected so that they don't have to wonder what it was and wonder if it was themselves and have a harder time getting through it. Hey, this is part of the things that we talk about and deal with up close and personal on a one-on-one basis in stable living coaching, and it's a big deal. And I'm happy to do it. And I hope that something that was said today helps you along your journey. Hey, thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot fail if you don't ever stop chasing it.